Lieutenant Danny Martinez stared at the holographic display and felt his stomach tighten. The blue dots representing the Coalition fleet were moving into position exactly where he knew they should not go. Around the briefing table, 12 different species sat in their command chairs, and not one of them was listening to him. Commander Vrix raised 2 of his 4 arms, silencing the room. The Zenthari officer's scales gleamed under the station lights as he gestured toward the star map. His voice came out in a deep rumble that the translator converted into standard speech. The plan is simple. We hold the Helios corridor with our main battle line here. The Krethian fleet will have no choice but to engage us directly. Our ships are stronger. Our weapons are superior. We will crush them in open battle. Danny cleared his throat. Sir, with respect, I believe the Krethians will not attack where we expect them to. The room fell silent. Several officers turned to look at him. A few made sounds that the translator did not bother converting, probably because they were dismissive noises that needed no translation. Vrix's eyes, all 3 of them, focused on Danny. Lieutenant Martinez, you have been with us for only 6 months. The Krethian Empire has fought the same way for 300 years. They are predictable. They are rigid. They will come at us head-on because that is what their military doctrine demands. That is exactly what they want us to think, Danny said, standing up from his seat. He moved to the holographic display and expanded the view. Look at these asteroid fields on the flanks. Look at this debris zone from the old mining operations. The Krethians know we will position ourselves in the center. They know we think they are predictable. What if they use that against us? A Palaxian officer, her tentacles curling with what Danny had learned meant amusement, made a clicking sound. The human suggests the Krethians will suddenly change centuries of tradition? How charming. They do not need to change everything, Danny insisted, just enough to catch us off guard. If they send even a quarter of their fleet through these side passages, they could hit us from 3 directions at once. We would be trapped. Vrix stood up, his full height making him tower over everyone in the room. Lieutenant, I appreciate your enthusiasm, truly I do. But you must understand that warfare at this level is not like the primitive conflicts of Earth. This is about formations, about firepower, about discipline. The Krethians will not deviate from their doctrine because they cannot. Their entire military system does not allow for such flexibility. Danny felt his face grow warm, but he kept his voice steady. Sir, that same rigidity might be exactly what makes them dangerous. If they have planned for this moment, if they have prepared one specific trap, they will execute it perfectly. I am asking you to at least position some reserve forces to cover our flanks. Another officer, a tall Vreni with crystal-like skin, shook his head. We cannot waste ships on unlikely scenarios. Every vessel must be part of the main attack. This is basic strategy. On Earth, we have a saying, Danny tried one more time. The enemy gets a vote. Just because we make a plan does not mean they will follow it. Vrix's expression softened slightly. He placed one of his large hands on Danny's shoulder. I know humans are known for their creativity. It is why we welcomed you into the coalition. But in this matter, experience must guide us. We have fought the Krethians dozens of times. We know them. Trust us on this. The meeting ended soon after. The fleet would deploy in exactly the formation Danny feared. Massive battleships in the center, cruisers spread in a traditional line, fighters positioned for frontal assault. Nothing covering the flanks, nothing held in reserve. As the officers filed out, chatting among themselves in various languages, Danny noticed one person lingering near the doorway. Lieutenant Amy Chen, one of the human fighter pilots who had joined the Coalition fleet a year before Danny. She walked over to him. You really think they are wrong? She asked quietly. Danny looked at the holographic display, still showing the planned formation. I hope I am wrong, Amy, I really do. But everything I learned in tactical school, everything I studied about military history, it all says this is a mistake. The brass never listens to the new guys, Amy said with a small smile. Even when the new guys are right, I will keep my squadron sharp just in case. If things go bad out there, we will need to be ready. Thanks, Danny said. Watch your flanks especially. If I am right about where they will hit us, the fighter squadrons will be the first to spot them. Amy nodded and left. Danny stayed in the briefing room for another hour, running simulations on his personal tablet. Every scenario he tested showed the same result. If the Krethians flanked them, the Coalition fleet would be devastated in the first 10 minutes. He sent his analysis to Commander Vrix one more time, with detailed projections and alternative deployment strategies. The response came back within minutes. Your concerns are noted. Focus on your assigned duties. Vrix out. 3 days later, Danny sat in the command center on Sentinel-7 station, watching the fleet deploy through the sensor displays. The massive ships moved into their positions like pieces on a game board. Beautiful, precise, vulnerable. He would not be going with them. Junior tactical analysts stayed at the command center, monitoring the battle from a distance and providing support if needed. Danny watched the countdown timer tick toward 0. 2 hours until the Krethian fleet arrived. 2 hours until they would know who was right. Danny pulled up the communication channels, listening to the chatter from the various ships. Crews were confident. Officers were calm. Everyone believed this would be a straightforward fight. Amy's voice came through on the fighter channel. Blue Squadron in position. All birds ready to fly. The timer continued counting down. Danny's hands gripped the edge of his console. He had done everything he could. He had warned them. Now all he could do was watch and hope he was wrong. But deep in his gut, in that place where instinct lived, Danny knew what was coming. And when it came, the battlefield would burn. The Krethian fleet arrived exactly on schedule. Danny watched the sensor display as hundreds of red dots appeared at the edge of the Helios corridor. The Coalition ships held their formation, weapons charging, crews ready. Everything looked perfect. Everything looked wrong. Commander Vrix's voice came through the main communication channel, steady and confident. All ships prepare for engagement. Fire control solutions locked. They are coming straight at us, just as predicted. Danny leaned closer to his screen. The Krethian formation was moving forward, their main battleships leading the charge. It looked exactly like every other battle the Coalition had fought against them. But something felt off. The numbers were wrong. He quickly ran a count of the enemy ships. His fingers moved rapidly across the console, double-checking the data. Then his blood ran cold. Command, this is Martinez at Station Analysis. Danny spoke into his headset, trying to keep his voice calm. I am only counting 70% of the expected Krethian fleet. Where are the rest of their ships? A bored voice from the command deck responded. Probably held in reserve, Lieutenant. Standard procedure. Focus on the data in front of you. Danny pulled up the sensor feeds from the outer buoys, the ones monitoring the asteroid fields and debris zones on the flanks. At first, he saw nothing. Then he adjusted the filters, looking for engine signatures instead of visual contacts. There. Dozens of heat signatures, moving slowly through the asteroid field on the left flank, and more on the right, using the old mining debris as cover. Command, we have enemy contacts in the side corridors, Danny said urgently. Multiple ships moving to flank our position. They are using the asteroids for cover. Confirmed as debris scatter, someone replied. Those readings are just rocks with residual heat. Stop seeing ghosts, Martinez. On the main display, the frontal Krethian force opened fire. Blue and red energy beams crossed the space between the fleets. The Coalition ships returned fire, their shields flaring as they absorbed the first impacts. It was a proper battle, exactly what everyone expected. Then the flanks exploded into chaos. Krethian warships burst from the asteroid fields on both sides, weapons already firing. They had been hiding there for hours, maybe days, waiting in complete silence. The Coalition's outer cruisers, positioned for frontal combat, were hit before they could even turn. Shields down on the horizon's edge, a panicked voice screamed through the communications. We are taking fire from the port side. Multiple hostiles. We did not see them until they were right on top of us. Danny watched in horror as the carefully planned formation fell apart. Ships tried to turn to face the new threats, but that exposed them to fire from the front. The Krethians had created a perfect killing zone, and the Coalition fleet was trapped right in the middle of it. All ships, evasive maneuvers, Vrix commanded, his voice finally showing strain. "Reform on my position! Tighten the formation!" But tightening the formation only made them a better target. Danny watched as another cruiser took a direct hit to its engines. The ship went dark, drifting helplessly. Amy's voice cut through the chaos. "Blue Squadron taking heavy fire. We lost 3 birds already, requesting instructions." No instructions came. The command channel was flooded with distress calls, damage reports, and confused orders. The battle had turned into a massacre in less than 5 minutes. Danny's console beeped. An incoming priority call from Commander Vrix's flagship. He accepted it immediately. Vrix's face appeared on the screen. Behind him, Danny could see smoke and flashing emergency lights. One of the Zenthari commander's arms hung limply at his side, injured. "Martinez," Vrix said, and there was no pride left in his voice. "You were right. We need help. We need it now." "Sir, I need full tactical authority," Danny said quickly. "I cannot help if I have to ask permission for every order." Vrix did not hesitate. "You have it. Command codes are being transferred to your station now. Save my fleet, Lieutenant." The screen went dark. Danny's console lit up with new access privileges. Suddenly he could see everything. Every ship, every weapon system, every damaged section. The full scope of the disaster was laid out in front of him. 23 ships already destroyed, 41 more with critical damage. The Krethian forces were methodically working through the Coalition fleet like a machine. Danny took a deep breath. He could do this. He had to do this. "All ships, this is Lieutenant Martinez. I have tactical command. Stop trying to reform. I repeat, stop trying to group together. You are making yourselves easier targets." He started issuing rapid orders, his fingers flying across the console. "Damaged ships, use your momentum to drift into the debris field. Make them think you are dead. Fighters, break into 3-ship teams. Stop flying in formation. You need to be unpredictable." "Who is this human giving orders?" an alien captain demanded. "This is the human who predicted exactly what is happening," Danny shot back. "And if you want to survive the next 10 minutes, you will listen to me. Captain Harris of the Defender, turn your ship 40 degrees to port and fire everything at coordinates mark 772. Do it now." There was a pause. Then the Defender turned. Its weapons blazed at seemingly empty space. 3 seconds later, a Krethian destroyer emerged from behind an asteroid, exactly where Danny said it would be. The Defender's weapons tore into it before it could raise shields. "How did you know?" Captain Harris asked, stunned. "Because they are following a plan," Danny explained, while simultaneously sending new coordinates to a dozen other ships. "And plans have patterns. Amy, take your squadron low, use the debris field for cover, then come up behind that cruiser at Mark 445. "Copy that," Amy responded. Her fighters scattered, each moving independently but somehow working together. Danny worked faster than he ever had in his life. He was not trying to win the battle, not yet. He was just trying to keep people alive long enough to have a chance. The battlefield blazed with weapons fire from every direction, but slowly, ship by ship, the chaos began to have purpose. General Throck sat in his command chair, watching the battle unfold with satisfaction. The primitive coalition forces were scattering like frightened prey. Everything was proceeding according to the plan his strategists had spent months perfecting. Then something changed. "General, the enemy is no longer retreating in panic," his tactical officer reported. "They are moving with purpose now. Small groups are using the terrain effectively." Throck leaned forward, his 6 eyes narrowing. The scattered coalition ships were indeed moving differently. Instead of clustering together for protection, they were spreading out, using asteroids and debris as shields. Fighter squadrons that had been flying in predictable formations were now moving like hunting packs. "Adjust fire patterns," Throck ordered. "Target the damaged vessels first." But when his ships moved to engage the drifting, apparently dead coalition cruisers, those same ships suddenly came alive, weapons blazing at point-blank range. 2 Krethian destroyers took critical damage before they could retreat. "They were playing dead," the tactical officer said, surprise clear in his voice. "That is not standard coalition doctrine." "No," Throck agreed slowly. It is not. On Sentinel-7 station, Danny was juggling 12 different conversations at once. His screen showed the entire battlefield, but his mind was 3 steps ahead, anticipating where each piece would move. Captain Rodriguez, that damaged section of your hull is leaking atmosphere. Make it leak more. Vent everything. I want them to think you are about to explode. You want me to do what? Captain Rodriguez sounded shocked. Trust me. Vent the damaged sections, then drift toward that Krethian battle group. When you get close, I need you to fire your port thrusters at full power. There was a moment of silence. Then Rodriguez laughed. You want to use my ship as a spinning firework. I like it. Venting now. Danny switched channels. Amy, status on that flanking maneuver? We are in position, Amy reported. Her voice was calm despite the chaos around her. 3 fighters left in my group. The others are scattered but still fighting. Good. When Rodriguez makes his move, the Krethian ships will turn to avoid him. That is when you hit them from behind. Target their engine clusters. I want them disabled, not destroyed. Understood. Why not destroyed? Because a disabled ship is a navigation hazard that their other ships have to avoid, Danny explained while simultaneously plotting new courses for a squadron of cruisers. A destroyed ship is just debris they can fly through. On the Krethian flagship, General Throck was beginning to feel something he had not experienced in decades of warfare: uncertainty. The Coalition is using psychological tactics, his intelligence officer reported. They are making us question our sensor readings. Ships we thought were destroyed are still fighting. Ships we thought were fighting are actually decoys. Throck studied the battle display. Whoever was commanding the Coalition forces now was thinking differently than any enemy he had faced. The tactics were crude in some ways, wasteful in others, but they were unpredictable. And unpredictability was dangerous. Identify their command ship, Throck ordered. We will cut off the head of this snake. We cannot, General. The command signals are being routed through multiple relays. They could be coming from anywhere. Danny saw the Krethian forces trying to locate him. Their ships were probing the communication networks, trying to trace his signal. He smiled and switched his commands to route through a damaged freighter that was already on fire. Let them chase ghosts, he muttered. He opened a channel to Commander Vrix. Sir, how are your shields holding? Vrix appeared on screen, his face covered in blue blood from a cut above one eye. We are at 30%. Main weapons are offline, but we are still here, thanks to you. I need you to do something that will sound crazy, Danny said. At this point, I trust your crazy ideas more than I ever trusted our traditional ones. What do you need? I need your ship to charge directly at the Krethian center formation. Vrix stared at him. We barely have shields. If we charge them, they will destroy us in seconds. Not if every other ship in the fleet fires at them at the exact same moment. They will have to choose between shooting you or protecting themselves, and I am betting they choose to protect themselves. You are betting my life on that, Vrix said quietly. I am betting all our lives on it, Danny replied. But I have a plan. Do you trust me? Vrix was silent for a long moment. Then he nodded. I trust you. Preparing to charge on your mark. Danny opened the fleet-wide channel. All ships with working weapons, this is Martinez. In 60 seconds, I am going to send you firing coordinates. You will have a 3-second window to fire everything you have at those exact points. Do not fire early. Do not fire late. 3 seconds, then you scatter immediately. Understood? Acknowledgements came from dozens of ships. Danny took a deep breath and began the countdown. Amy, I need your squadron to do something dangerous. What else is new? Amy replied. What do you need? There is a gas pocket near grid 793. Leftover mining operations, highly volatile. I need you to ignite it exactly 5 seconds after the main fleet fires. That pocket is huge, Amy said slowly. If we ignite it, the explosion will light up half the battlefield. Exactly, Danny said. The Krethians have been using darkness and cover to hide their movements. Let us take that advantage away. We will be right in the blast radius. I know. That is why I am asking you, not ordering you. Can you do it? Amy's laugh came through the channel. Danny, I followed you this far. Might as well see how this ends. We will light their sky on fire. The countdown reached 10 seconds. Danny watched his screen, tracking every ship, every movement. This had to be perfect. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Mark! The coalition fleet opened fire as one. Hundreds of energy beams and missiles converged on the Krethian center formation from every direction. At the same instant, Vrix's flagship surged forward at full speed. The Krethian ships did exactly what Danny predicted. They turned all their defensive fire inward, protecting themselves from the massive barrage. Then Amy's squadron fired into the gas pocket. The explosion was beautiful and terrible. A massive fireball erupted across the battlefield, washing everything in brilliant orange and white light. The darkness of space became day, and in that light, General Throck finally saw the truth. He was not fighting the coalition fleet anymore. He was fighting one human mind that saw the battle as a game of moves and countermoves. A mind that was willing to set the very stars on fire to win. The explosion turned night into day. The fireball expanded outward, consuming debris and gas in a chain reaction that stretched for thousands of kilometers. Every ship on both sides was suddenly visible, their positions revealed in stark detail. Danny did not waste a second. All ships, execute scatter pattern Delta. Move now! The coalition fleet broke apart like seeds in the wind. Ships that had been grouped together suddenly scattered in seemingly random directions. The Krethian gunners, temporarily blinded by the flash, fired at empty space where their targets had been moments before. Amy, report! Danny called out, his heart pounding. For 3 terrible seconds there was only static. Then her voice came through, breathless but alive. We made it! Barely! That was insane, Danny! I know. Get your squadron to Rally Point Gamma. You have earned a break. Negative, Amy replied. We did not come this far to sit out the finale. Where do you need us? Danny felt a surge of pride but kept his voice professional. Stand by. I have something special planned. On the Krethian flagship, chaos erupted on the command deck. Shields at 60% from the blast wave, an officer reported. Multiple ships reporting damage from debris impacts. General Throck ignored the reports. His eyes were fixed on the tactical display, watching the coalition ships reposition themselves. The human commander, whoever he was, had just turned the Krethians' own trap against them. The darkness and cover they had relied on was gone. Now everyone could see everything. There, Throck pointed at the display. That is their command ship. It must be. See how the other vessels are positioning themselves around it? His tactical officer studied the screen. That is the flagship of Commander Vrix. But, sir, our intelligence says it was heavily damaged. Why would they route commands through a crippled vessel? Because the human wants us to think that, Throck said slowly. Or because the human is actually somewhere else, and this is a decoy. For the first time in his career, Throck felt paralyzed by indecision. Every move he considered, the humans seemed to have already anticipated. Danny watched Vrix's flagship on his screen. The Krethian forces were repositioning, clearly planning to make a major assault on it. Good. That was exactly what he wanted. Commander Vrix, they are taking the bait. Prepare for emergency jump. Our jump drives are damaged, Vrix protested. We can make 1 jump, maybe 2, before they burn out completely. 1 is all I need, but not yet. I need you to hold position and look vulnerable. We are vulnerable, Vrix said dryly. That will not be difficult. Danny opened another channel. All damaged vessels, begin moving toward the radiation belt of the nearby gas giant. Use whatever power you have left. Captain Rodriguez's voice came back immediately. Danny, that radiation will fry our systems. The damaged ships will not survive it. I know. That is what the Krethians will think too. They will not expect anyone to actually go in there. That is because it is suicide, Rodriguez said. It is suicide if you stay in there, Danny corrected. But if you use it as a shield for just 30 seconds, then jump out, you will survive. The radiation will mask your heat signatures. They will lose track of you. There was silence as the captains considered this. "You are asking us to trust our lives to very precise timing," Captain Harris said slowly. "Yes," Danny admitted. "I am. But I have gotten you this far, have I not?" One by one, the damaged ships acknowledged the order and began limping toward the gas giant's radiation belt. General Throck saw the movement immediately. "The damaged vessels are fleeing to the radiation zone, a desperate move. Redirect Squadrons 4 and 5 to intercept them before they reach it." "Sir, if we redirect those squadrons, it will leave our main formation exposed to attack." "The coalition fleet is broken," Throck said firmly. "They are running. We press our advantage now. Destroy those damaged ships, then we will finish off the rest." Danny watched the Crethean squadrons move to intercept the fleeing damaged ships. His fingers danced across the console, calculating trajectories and timing. "Amy, I need your squadron and every other fighter we have left to form up at coordinates mark 889. You are going to escort a very important package." "What package?" Amy asked. "3 of our fastest cruisers are going to make a run at the Crethean command ship. You are going to make sure they get there." "Danny, that is suicide. The command ship is in the middle of their entire fleet." "It would be suicide," Danny agreed, "if I was actually trying to hit it. But I am not. I just need them to think I am. When those cruisers get close, they are going to release every bit of volatile material we can load onto them. Fuel cells, reactor coolant, anything that burns or explodes." Understanding dawned in Amy's voice. "You are going to create another fireball." "A bigger one this time, right in the middle of their fleet. And while they are dealing with that, our damaged ships are going to come out of the radiation belt behind them, and Commander Vrix is going to jump his flagship right on top of their command ship." "That is the craziest plan I have ever heard," Amy said. "Is it crazy enough to work?" Danny asked. Amy laughed. "Let us find out. Blue Squadron forming up now." The pieces began to move. The damaged ships entered the radiation belt and disappeared from sensors. The Crethean squadrons that had been chasing them stopped at the edge, unwilling to follow. The 3 fast cruisers, escorted by what remained of the coalition fighter wings, accelerated toward the Crethean center formation. General Throck saw them coming. "Suicide attack! All ships concentrate fire on those cruisers! Destroy them before they reach us!" Every Crethean weapon in range opened fire. The space between the fleets filled with energy beams and missiles. One of the coalition cruisers exploded immediately. The second lost power and began to drift. But the third kept coming, with Amy's fighters running interference, drawing fire, sacrificing themselves to keep the cruiser alive for just a few more seconds. "Now!" Danny whispered. The cruiser released its payload. Hundreds of fuel cells and volatile containers spread out in a cloud. Then the cruiser's self-destruct triggered. The explosion was 10 times larger than the first one. It consumed the center of the Crethean formation in a ball of nuclear fire. She were thrown aside by the blast wave. Shields failed. Systems overloaded. And in that moment of chaos, the damaged coalition ships emerged from the radiation belt, weapons firing. At the exact same instant, Vrix's flagship completed its emergency jump, appearing less than a kilometer from General Throck's command ship. The battlefield was no longer just ablaze. It was an inferno, and the human who had been ignored was the one who had lit the match. General Throck's command ship rocked violently as Vrix's flagship appeared directly beside it. Alarms screamed across the Crethean bridge. Officers scrambled to respond to the impossible situation. "Shields failing," someone shouted. "Hull breaches on decks 4 through 7. Throck gripped his command chair, his mind racing. The human had done it. Against all military logic, against centuries of established warfare doctrine, one creative mind had torn apart his perfect plan. "All ships, retreat to fallback position Omega," Throck ordered, his voice calm despite the chaos. "Execute immediately." The Crethean fleet began to withdraw, their formations broken, their confidence shattered. They left behind dozens of disabled ships and countless debris fields. On Sentinel-7 station, Danny watched the enemy fleet pull back. His hands were shaking. He had been operating on pure adrenaline for the past hour, and now that the immediate danger was passing, exhaustion crashed over him like a wave. "All ships, cease fire," Danny ordered. "I repeat, cease fire. Let them go." "Danny, we could finish them," Captain Rodriguez argued. "We have them on the run." "We have already won," Danny said quietly, "and we have lost too many people today. Let them retreat with dignity. There has been enough death." The Coalition fleet held their positions, watching as the Krethian ships disappeared into the darkness of space. Slowly, carefully, the battered survivors began to regroup. Danny opened a channel to Commander Vrix. "Sir, are you all right?" Vrix appeared on screen, covered in dust and blood, but alive. Behind him, crew members were putting out small fires and treating the wounded. "We are here, Lieutenant. Against all odds, we are still here. That jump nearly tore my ship apart, but it was worth it to see the look on Throck's face." "I am sorry I did not listen to you earlier," Vrix continued, his three eyes meeting Danny's gaze directly. "If I had, we would not have lost so many good people today." Danny felt the weight of those words. "Sir, I need to visit the wounded. I need to see what my decisions cost." "Your decisions saved us," Vrix said firmly. "But yes, you should see them. A good commander knows the price of victory." Over the next few hours, Danny moved through the medical bays on Sentinel-7. He saw burned crew members, injured pilots, officers who had lost limbs. Each one represented a choice he had made, a risk he had calculated. He found Amy in the pilot recovery ward. Her face was bruised, and her left arm was in a medical brace, but she smiled when she saw him. "We did it," she said simply. "You did it," Danny corrected. "That run on their command ship, keeping that cruiser alive long enough to deliver its payload, that was all you and your squadron." "We lost 4 pilots," Amy said, and her smile faded. "Good people. Friends." Danny sat down beside her bed. "I know. I am sorry." "Do not be," Amy said. "They knew the risks. We all did. And they died saving everyone else. That matters." 3 days later, a formal ceremony was held on Sentinel-7. The station's main assembly hall was packed with officers and crew from dozens of different species. Danny stood at attention in his dress uniform, feeling completely out of place. The Coalition High Commander, an ancient Vryn named Kelix, stood at the podium. Her crystalline skin reflected the light as she spoke. "The Battle of Helios Corridor will be studied for generations," Kelix said. "Not because of the size of the fleets involved, but because it taught us a valuable lesson. We had become arrogant. We believed our experience was enough. We stopped listening to new voices, new ideas." She turned to look at Danny. "Lieutenant Danny Martinez showed us that warfare is not just about following rules. It is about adapting, about thinking creatively, about being willing to take risks. He showed us what it means to be human in the best possible way." Danny was promoted to Chief Strategic Advisor and assigned to work directly with Commander Vrix. The promotion came with new responsibilities and new challenges. But more importantly, it came with respect. Over the following weeks, officers from other Coalition fleets requested transfers to study under Danny. They wanted to learn human tactical thinking, to understand how to see battles not as rigid formulas, but as fluid situations requiring creative solutions. Danny found himself teaching classes, running simulations, sharing everything he knew. He was careful to emphasize that his way was not the only way, just a different perspective. One afternoon, a communication arrived at the station. It was marked as a diplomatic message from the Krethian Empire. When Danny opened it, he found it was addressed specifically to him. The message was simple. "You fought well, human. You turned our trap into our defeat. There is honor in such skill. Perhaps one day we will face each other again. Until then, you have earned the respect of General Throck." Danny smiled and saved the message. Respect from an enemy was sometimes more valuable than praise from friends. Months later, Danny stood in a training facility, watching new recruits run through simulations. The scenarios were based on the Battle of Helios Corridor, but with variations. The recruits were learning to think on their feet, to adapt, to question assumptions. Amy walked up beside him, now promoted to squadron leader. "Look at them! They are using your tactics but making them their own." "That is the point," Danny said. "I do not want them to copy me. I want them to understand that there is always another way to approach a problem, that creativity matters as much as firepower." A young Paloxian recruit raised a tentacle to ask a question. "Instructor Martinez, in Scenario 7, you used damaged ships as decoys. But what if the enemy does not fall for the same trick twice?" Danny grinned. "Excellent question. The answer is simple. You never use the same trick twice. You learn the principle behind the trick, then you create new ones. The enemy can prepare for what you did yesterday. They cannot prepare for what you have not thought of yet." The recruits nodded, their various alien features showing understanding and excitement. As the class continued, Danny thought about how far they had all come. The galaxy was finally learning that every species brought something valuable to the coalition. The Zenthari brought strength. The Vryn brought wisdom. The Pyloxians brought precision. And humans brought the spark of creativity, the willingness to see problems differently, the courage to try solutions that looked crazy until they worked. The battlefield had blazed, but from those flames came understanding. The coalition was stronger now, not despite their differences, but because of them. And that, Danny thought, was worth every scar, every sleepless night, every impossible decision. The future would bring new battles, new challenges. But now the coalition would face them together, listening to all voices, respecting all perspectives. The human who had been ignored had shown them the way, and the galaxy would never make that mistake again.